dinars to be able to buy, or enough dollars to be able to buy, I'd have to give up $3.60 to get 1 dinar, which would be enough to buy the crockery. Is everybody with me so far? Now that exchange rate fluctuates on a day-to-day level. For example, every morning I get an email from this currency house that tells me how much, what the current exchange rate is. Okay? Now typically what we have right now is countries have agreed that they would essentially allow their currencies to basically, they've agreed to an upper and lower minimum for their currency. Meaning that they basically agreed to try to keep their currency stable. Okay? And by keeping their currency stable, okay, that helps economic decision making. You guys with me so far? Now, the question becomes, what does it take to keep your currency stable? Well, if you're buying up more and more KDs, what happens to the price of the KD? If you're buying up, which means you're taking it out of the system, there's fewer and fewer KDs out there, what happens? It goes up. Now, countries have agreed that they're going to keep the KD within a certain range, right? So as the KD begins to appreciate, the central bank of Kuwait has to do what? It goes above where it agreed to keep it at, right? It's got to intervene in the money market. It's got to intervene into the system and do what? Increase the amount of KD, right? Because it's got to stabilize the exchange rate. You guys follow me so far? Flip it on its head. Okay? If everybody is taking and dumping KDs into the system, what happens to the value of the KD? It goes down, right? Which means in order to keep it stable, the central bank has got to go in and do what? Okay, excuse me. It has to remove those KDs, so it's got to buy up those KDs, right? Okay? Excuse me for a second. This experiment didn't work, so I guess it's very hard. I can't do it. All right. Anyway, so I apologize for interrupting your class today. Okay, so what we have here now, I have it at 3.5 because 2 years ago, okay, when I first made this PowerPoint, guess what the exchange rate was? 3.5. 3 years ago it was 3.7. Okay, do you see what happens to exchange rates? Now, if I wanted to make money and I knew ahead of time, or I speculated that the dinar would go from 3.4 to 3.8, okay, what would I do? I'd buy the dinars today, right? Okay? Because they would increase in value, right? That's what speculation's all about. Now, it's not a big deal if you're just exchanging $100. But imagine if you were exchanging $1 million, or $2 million, or $3 million. What are you doing? You're going to make your money off the change in the exchange rate. Okay, guys, with me so far? Okay, so what factors determine, what time is it? We got 4 minutes. Now, the exchange rate is determined by 2 factors that are simultaneously taking place. And they are basically factors of either demand side or supply side. Who's had an economics course in here? Have you had an economics course back there? You shouldn't hide like that. You got to kind of sit up straight, pay attention, look, put a smile on your face, and everything's going to be fine. Okay. Now, so price is determined by what? Supply and demand. Mutually accommodating relationship. It's not just demand, it's not just supply. It's both of these factors working in tandem. Okay? Now, in order to kind of explain the exchange rate, you know, these PowerPoints kind of separate demand and supply just to kind of emphasize the point. But I want to point out the bottom line is this. Exchange rate, just as price, is always determined by the relationship between those 2 types of factors. Now, what are some examples of demand? Okay? So if supply and demand determines the value of a currency, okay, what would demand be? Well, demand here basically reflects your desire, okay, to buy, in the case of the United States, to buy U.S. dollars, okay, U.S. goods, U.S. services, okay, or traveling to the United States. For example, when you go to H&M, H&M is from where? What country? England, right? H&M is a British firm, isn't it? Okay, so when you buy your clothing at H&M, you buy using what currency? KDs, right? But those clothes, let's say if they originated in London or in England or whatever in Britain, right? To buy, if I'm going to be sending those clothing, that merchandise to Kuwait, okay? When it's bought using what kind of currency? Pounds, right? Which means if I'm the distributor here in Kuwait, and I basically have dinars, what do I have to do? I've got to go to a bank, okay, and facilitate a trade. The bank does it for me. It's not like I got to go and get a bunch of pounds and I go manually. It's done by the bank, right? You have a bill of lading, whatever the instrument is that you use. You order so much clothing to be shipped over here, but you pay in dinars, but the dinars go to the bank, exchange into pounds, and then the bank then sends the pounds to the firm in England. Okay? Well, so what you've just done now is you've increased the supply of dinars and you've decreased the supply of pounds. Okay? Guys, with me? Same thing. When so goods or services, assets, when you begin to buy, let's say you're buying treasury bills in the United States. You buy treasury bills in what? Using U.S. dollars. But you don't have U.S. dollars, you have to use your dinars, right? So you gotta inject the dinars into the system, all right, in order to get the dollars to be able to buy the treasury bills, right? So you increase the dinars and you take out or decrease the amount of dollars. Yeah. No, it's 12:14. You need to get some glasses. 12:14. I'm paying attention. You should never do that to the teacher. That implies you want to leave. You should never do that. That's not very nice. Not very nice. Okay. So, so we're at 12. Now we're at 12:15. All right. Do I always keep you guys that long? No, I let you guys off easy sometimes. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll start off.